Hey guys, Banana Luck here. Welcome back to another Watch Your Realms video. We have a couple of stuff going on, mainly with the update announcement for December. Doesn't look like a big update to be honest, much smaller than the ones we had in the last 2 months. Understandably so since Chapter 10 and AMR 19 through 22 were released. But let's get into it. So yeah, I think it's just a couple of quality of life updates. I think the biggest one is probably the hero changes with Init. So Init now has a new effect for basic attack, reduces the target's damage by 30% for 2.5 seconds, and Ancient's core damage per second increase from 20 to 25%, as well as skill description for all support heroes with rich regen effects. I'm guessing this goes to like Dolores, etc. Probably more clarity around how the rage regen works. And what does that do with the uh, changes to, in it? So first of all, there's only 3 damage reduction units in the entire game at the moment. First one being Alistair, which we all, if luckily, were here when, his fusion first came out. There's a 30% damage reduction inflicted upon his attacks too, fairly similar. And the other one is gonna be Volca. So this one is a bit more dependent on her passive. She basically needs Scarlet Ferment stacks and then she inflicts a 30% damage reduction. The main drawback about this here is that she needs her stacks, and even with her exclusive artifact, it's actually not guaranteed that you always have her damage reduction stacks going on, which is unfortunate, but yeah. And the last one, also a nightmare unit that most people probably don't really know about is Trigger. Damage reduction of 20% for 4 seconds, and there's a cooldown for 8 seconds. So not the most optimal uptime, but I think when it comes to reliability, probably a lot better than Volca. But now we get a new unit that does, not a new unit, now we get another unit that actually does the damage reduction, and there's no strings attached as well. So I reckon people will be using Init either with their Praetors or they're going to use it in their secondary team because Alistair arguably does way more damage. I'm not sure how good Init is when it comes to enabling other units that are not from the Arbiter faction. So I'm guessing that he's going to be used in Team 1 mostly. And also some boost to his damage, but from what I'm seeing, people that have used Init, they're saying that this is not a huge buff at all. And then next big buff is going to be the drop in Gleaming Meteorites. So I'm just going to focus on Nightmare. Defeating the final boss now drops 140 Gleamings, and I've checked with my Forerunner folks. 140 only applies to the final boss. That means that in each phase there's a final boss. That's not the final boss that the game determines. So I think this week was a Torador rotation. So the final Torador boss gives the 140. The Araka boss and the Crimson Star boss in between, those don't do anything. So there's also a buff to the small monster drops as well. And all in all, this brings up our total Gleaming Meteorites to about 470, according to the Forerunner folks. So not as big of a buff as I expected. I thought 140 would apply to all the different bosses in between, but that's not the case. But 470 would mean that we still get a 10 pull each week, which is great. And this will also mean don't do your Void Rift next week early. Do it only after the patch hits, which makes a lot of sense. And then Gear Dungeon tab now defaults to selecting the newer stage, quality of life updates, and the tab scrolls to the corresponding position. And master keys can now be exchanged for dungeon keys, finally, because this has been bothering me for the longest time, having to set up the 100 runs for the dungeon keys and then the remaining runs for the master keys after. And then best records now include Gear Dungeon, so that's just flexing. And then there's the takeover option, which I believe was a feature that was more commonly featured when, we were first starting out. There was a part where you could let AI take over. And yeah, I don't think this is really going to be useful, at least for the endgame folks. And another nice quality of life update for the newbies. a view guide button added for failed challenges in some gear rates, redirecting them to the community for corresponding guides. I'm guessing this would redirect them to the YouTube channels that they have on the site. And then next up, a buff to Hell's Lament. Same exact multipliers, but the damage increase goes from 8 seconds to 12 seconds, which is, in my opinion, still a pretty bad set because most ultimates last for 20 seconds, especially when you look at Lament and Silas, who have their exclusive gear on Hell's Lament set. So, not the best buff, but we'll see. I don't even have a full set going on, so yeah, I don't really care about this. And then Artifact Forge now displays the number of forgeable artifacts, just quality of life updates. And big thing here, 300 to 500 artifact storage limit. That's huge, especially given that now we have a lot more exclusives coming in. And we also have newly added exclusive gear for some heroes or factions. Probably gonna update to the other factions because right now we only have Watch Guards, the Watchers, and North Throne and Cultists. So maybe Nightmare, Inferno, Piercers, they're all gonna get something now. And then added a special visual effect for forging exclusive gear. So probably just means that we'll get like a new animation when we do actually forge one. And you can now view the corresponding team's garrison map during the war preparation phase. Not sure what this means. Optimize guild mail layout, increase the limit from 5 to 10, yada yada yada, nothing much there. Yeah, I'm not too sure what this means. Does this mean that we can see the enemy's garrison? Doesn't make sense, right? Okay. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I don't think that's the case. And other new stuff, the shop for Immortal Codex and Dungeon added to Dwarven Association. Hero interface now displays hero tags. You can filter by hero tags. And this is another big one. You can now save gear and artifact info in Arena Auto Fight. Commanders with a historical highest rank of Plat 1 and above can choose to save their current gears lineup and artifact when saving auto fight records after PvP battles. To prevent commanders from accidentally triggering the built-in full screen gesture, okay, this is more for mobile. New option has been added, hero panel spacer, blah blah blah. So interesting to see how that looks like. Other than that, optimize combat performance, don't care, these are just rares. And optimize the price of mythic extracts. I think this one people have been calling out that, you know, the mythic extracts are priced a bit differently in the last slot versus the other slots in the Dwarven shop. And very interestingly, the Mount and Void Rift Barber is now available in the skin shop, which means that people have to pay for it instead if, let's say, they weren't here for the anniversary. So nothing super crazy. I think the Init Buff is nice. The Gleaming Meteorite buffs are nice as well. And also the new exclusive gear, I'm most excited about seeing what this is all about. Unfortunately, I'm very low on forging materials, so probably have to wait for other folks to post and see what we get there. But yeah, interesting stuff, and I'm guessing after this update we'll also get dates on the next week's banner, which currently it was, you know, leaked that it was Ingrid Ardea, but it looks like there might be some changes according to the leakers. If you caught their Telegram channel, it looks like we're getting Uridin and Praetor instead next week, and yeah, Ingrid Ardea is going to be coming a lot later. So yeah, interesting change. I'm guessing it's more to milk the player base, you know, just to make sure that folks can't really resist the Praetor's banner. Then they have to pull on that, and then be short on summons for Ingrid and Ardea, and then they have to buy more summons there. So yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. Let me know down in the comments what you're most excited about. Remember, if you have any more forging material, stop using them because we're gonna get more exclusive coming up next week. And at the same time, make sure you don't do Void Rift next week because there's gonna be the buff that comes after the patch. So only do it after the patch hits. So yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like or subscribe to the channel. And I'm gonna see you in the next one. Goodbye.